there's some.
You're on. All right.
Good day, Dr. Gary. I hope you're doing well.
Yep. Thank you very much, John, for sharing this information to us. Allow me to introduce again Jean Kirazian from Lebanon. Jean's a really skilled Vedic astrologer, very tied to the classics. You know, he takes a tight interpretation from the classics. And I have a great deal of respect and admiration for him, and I've known him for a good number of years. So, John, I'll just turn it over to you. You can present, please, and outline your topic and outline how it can help in chart interpretation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gary. It is always generous and kind of you to make these interviews. We are all in a learning process, always. So, today, I'm going to speak about my point of view about the Vargas, what I read in the classical books. I'm not going to say this is conclusive or definitive, but maybe like we talked in the past few weeks, maybe we have lost data. Maybe we don't have all the informations now, but about what we have, I made a conclusion about it that I'm going to share. Now, every astrologer undergoing a deep analysis of a birth chart has a lot of calculations, rules to follow and to deal with. I am more inclined and fond of the classical books, especially Brihat Parasara, Horasara, and Phala Deepika. In the early chapters of the book for Maharshi Parasara, he mentioned methods how to judge a house or a birth chart. He gave most of the importance to the rising sign, the Lagna. But first, we need to know why the Lagna. What is the Lagna? If we try to go to the root of the word, the meaning of the word, Lagna has many significances. For Jyotish, there are three very important ones. They are the beginning, the union, and an auspicious moment. So, so by this, we know that the beginning of the soul and the union between the soul and the physical world, and this is an auspicious moment because the soul have a birth and it learns a lot in this world. So by observation, the Lagna is the point on the horizon where the sun rises. It seems it's obvious that the beginning of the soul starts from there, the union between the soul and the body. It also starts from there, and it is a good moment. So this is a good moment because the sages say that when a soul gets a birth on this planet, it learns, it develops, and it grows. So it seems like everything is starting from the east. So on this point, the sun rises. And on this point too, the full moon starts appearing. When it is full moon, it starts from the east. It's like the sun. And on the ecliptic also, the planets start to appear also from the east, from the place where the sun rises. So this is basic information. But there is also a very strong relationship between the sun and the Lagna. At every sunrise, the sign on the ascendant will contain the sun. It is as if the Lagna is a shadow of the sun. In the Maharshi Parasara book, he said that the sun is the soul and the king. It rules all the planets. And as we advance in the knowledge, we learn that the sun, by its big size and gravitational force, holds the planets in the solar system, and it gives light and life. So we must also understand that the Lagna and the sun are related and parallel to each other in some way or the other. There is also something in the Jyotish system. It's like a hierarchy. It starts from the sun on the first level. It rules everything. Then on the second level, it is divided between the sun and the moon. And on the third level, it is divided between the sun, the moon, and the other grahas and sub-grahas. Now, coming to this point, most Jyotish practitioners take the Lagna as the point on which they build the foundation of their prediction, which is very much true to a large extent. But Maharshi Parasara also mentioned a few other points to use, and they are Bhava Lagna, Hora Lagna, and Ghati Lagna. He specifically mentioned it in chapter 5, special ascendants. I'm going to speak about the calculations, but they are all related to the sunrise. When we calculate the special ascendants, they are all somehow related to the sunrise, the moment of the sunrise.
Yeah,
The Bhava Lagna, the Hora Lagna, and the Ghati Lagna. So they are related to the sun.
yeah, and Jean, if I can just interject, those the alternative lagnas are mentioned so early in Parashara. I'm always astonished when I read a book on Vedic astrology and they're never touched. I mean, especially introductory texts. So I think that you may be underscoring a fundamental part of the Vedic system that we need to introduce into into basic Vedic teaching, not advanced. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
So when Maharshi Parasara explained about the special ascendants in that chapter, in the 9th verse, he said, I quote, "Keeping the planets as it is, prepare the Bhava charts concerning each special ascendant, and the analyze is done for the natal chart, like we do in the Rasi chart." Did I explain myself correctly?
Yes, you did.
He is saying basically that we have a Rasi chart, we keep the planets as they are, and we have other 3 special ascendants. They are the Bhava, Ghati, and Hora. We will use the Lagna of each and keep the planets in their signs. So by this, we have 4 Lagnas, the Rasi Lagna and the 3 others.
Right.
Okay, up until now, we didn't start to mention the Varga system, but this is important as to where I want to lead this discussion, so that we have a clear idea how Maharshi Parasara led the instructions he learned and what did he mean. Especially after this, he mentions in 2 separate chapters the divisional charts, the Vargas, and what is their use. He starts by mentioning that from Lagna, we know about the physical and the well-being, the general fate, from Hora, the wealth, and the remaining Vargas. I'm not going to mention all of them, but he mentions a good deal of Vargas, and they are all important. The most important of them is the Navamsha and the Shashtiyamsa. Now, I needed to mention all this after absorbing a lot of Jyotish practitioners, including me, work on a system that may not be clear to us. We may not have the whole data about Jyotish, but like I said, I am convinced, and I'm working on the data that I have now, and the hints mentioned in the Maharshi Parasara book and the Phaladipika book about the use of the Vargas. And in the chapter 7, he mentions how is the use of them. And in the verse 6 and 8, he mentions that the Bhava whose Lord is in malefic Shashtiyamsa will diminish, and the Bhava whose Lord is in benefic Shodamsha will flourish. So in this verses of the divisional charts, he is basically saying that the house lord, we have to see the house lord in the sign of a Varga. He didn't mention any Lagna in the Vargas. He just gave it a role for the use of a house to see to evaluate the house system. So if a Lagna lord is strong in a Rashi chart, but it is weak in a Navamsha and Shashtiyamsa, it may not be that effective, or vice versa. If a Lagna is strong in a Rasi chart and it is weak in a Navamsha or Shashtiyamsa and Shashtiyamsa, it may give better result than expected. Here, I must mention and focus on a point that Maharshi Parasara, he didn't use it like a divisional Lagna. There's no mention in the Parasara book or any other classical books, as far as I know, and as far as I made my researches, we don't have a Lagna in the Vargas. We have Lagnas in, we have the special Lagnas that they are the Hora, Bhava, and Ghati Lagna. In this chapter of the Vargas, Maharshi Parasara speaks about Vimspoka's trench. I'm sure everybody is familiar with it. So there are basically four kinds of trenches. And I have read from an Indian traditional sources. This is some knowledge that has been out, but not in the classical books, by people who practice it. And this is information may not be in the books. They gave the use of the Vimspoka each for a purpose, and the Dasa Varga that includes the Shashtiyamsa is for the interpretation for the individual chart, with the dasha and the strength of a house lord.
Okay.
And there is something really interesting in the Shashtiyamsa and Navamsha. We will go by examples of a few charts. There's something really interesting about this subject. And I think we really need a bigger research about this thing. But I will share some really interesting things, and I will relate people to some things. We will start by Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. They are both related. They are both related to each other. And the data that research that I have done, is really interesting. I really wish to share it. Start by Bill Gates. I will share my screen so that people see the chart.
Okay, my friend.
Okay. So this is the chart of Bill Gates. Basically, he has Saturn in the last degrees, exalted. It is in Gemini Navamsha and Leo Shashtiyamsa, D60. Okay. We have the Lagna Lord, Pisces, the moon in Pisces. It is in Scorpio Navamsha and Scorpio Shashtiyamsa. We have Mercury. We have Mercury in Virgo with Mars, and Mercury is going in the D60 in Virgo too. So it is very strong to me, this planet, this Graha, is very strong. Especially that in the Navamsha, is not weak. It's not weak. So we have Mercury in a really strong sign. So why did I mention this? Why did I mention this?
Jean, I'm having trouble seeing the Shastra chart.
Okay. Here it's it has the Virgo has Mercury, Ketu, and Mars. We have Guru in Cancer too, very strong.
Okay.
Jupiter is very strong.
Yeah, but it's not showing on your screen. That's what I'm talking about.
My screen is not appearing.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not showing the Shastra.
are you able to see the chart?
I can see the chart.
Oh.
I can see the chart. And I know some people like Gemini for Bill Gates, but I agree with you. I prefer Cancer. I think it works better for him.
Well, I think Cancer relates to him a lot.
Yeah.
He's a very lucky guy. He has a lot of money. Jupiter in second house, ascendant Lord in the ninth house, Indra Chapa there. So it acts a bit like Venus. Okay, so I'm mentioning this only to show the similarities between Bill Gates and Steve Jobs in the divisional charts.
Okay.
Let me put Steve Jobs. Okay, so here Steve Jobs has Virgo Lagna. His Mercury is in.
All right, Steve. Are you not sharing Steve? You're still on Bill's screen. So what I would do is I would close the share. I would stop the share and try to upload it again. Sometimes it does that. Sometimes it does that.
Okay.
It's happened to me so many times. That's how I know.
So is it showing now?
Yeah, he has a Virgo Lagna.
Yes.
Yep.
And he has Mercury again. Mercury again is in the Virgo Shashtiyamsa. We also have Moon in Pisces and in Navamsha Scorpio. So those are two similarities. We also have Saturn in the last degrees. It is in the Gemini Navamsha and Leo Shashtiyamsa, the same as Bill Gates. And they have like 6 months difference or more, maybe more. I think 8 months difference in birth.
Right. And I'm going to mention this again. The actual D60 chart, the Shashtiyamsa, is not showing up on the screen. So maybe you could put those up separately for both individuals.
I will put it up. I'll put it here.
Yeah.
Near the Rasi chart.
Ah, there you go. You got it.
Okay, I don't know why. Maybe the whole screen is not sharing.
Yeah, you know, but I mean, it's only showing 4 charts, which is fine. But the Shashtiyamsa,
it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so basically now we will need Navamsha and the Shashtiyamsa, the D60 and D9.
Yeah.
And the Rasi chart, of course. So the similarities between, I will re-put the chart of Bill Gates so that we see all the similarities. I will mention them again. We have the Moon in Pisces in both charts, in the Rasi, in both charts, they are in Navamsha Scorpio.
Yeah.
We have Saturn in the last degrees. There is difference more than 8-9 months between Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs has Saturn in Libra in Rasi. It is in Gemini Navamsha and Leo Shashtiyamsa. Okay, we'll go to Bill Gates again. Again, we see the Moon in Pisces and Navamsha Scorpio. We see the Mercury both in Shashtiyamsa Virgo. And we see Saturn the same position in Rasi, Navamsha, and Shashtiamsa.
Okay.
So I think that this information is really important, because those two, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, are both computer giants. They both created historical computer companies, and they basically they have all the, I mean, people use all their computers in the world. I know Bill Gates is stronger in marketing and this kind of things, but Steve Jobs has done really great work in this field. So I just wanted to share the similarities, that there are things that we can relate to each other in the Navamsha and Shashtiamsa.
Yep.
So now, if we want to talk about the ascending sign, we will see that in Rasi, we know that the luck house is the 9th. So when we look at Bill Gates, we will see that his 9th house is in Leo Rasi. In D60, it is in Cancer, exalted, and this shows Narshi Parasara gave more points to the Narshi Parasara gave more points in the Shashtiamsa. He gave it a lot of importance. So basically, we are seeing a very strong 9th house. It's in the 2nd house. It seems like it's affecting his wealth, his luck, and also his ascendant is a bit strong. I know you have a lot of experience in the Vargas, and if you want to share anything, I will listen.
Well, I think that whenever I look at a Varga, I always look and see how strong the planets are by sign placement, number one, and also the indicators connected. I do use the house systems. You know, I'm not going to lie about that. I do. I picked that up years ago, because I used to do 3-hour-long readings, and I used to go through every single harmonic chart I could. I used to go through, especially the 16 main ones. But I found that a little bit redundant and a little bit, to be honest with you, a lot of the Varga charts I found redundant, to be truthful. You know, so if I'm looking at the Rashi chart, and I'm looking at the harmonics chart, just from my perspective, it doesn't mean they're invalid, but they'll just scream it. So all right, so you can go on. I'm going to take this phone call. Okay.
So I will give 2 more examples of what does it mean for a house to be strong. I will give 2 examples of Putin and Queen Elizabeth. So we'll start by Putin. We will see how his chart. We will look at it, and if we look at it, we see he has Libra Lagna. Venus is in it. It's strong. Mercury is benefic there, the 9th lord, with Venus, with the aspect of Jupiter. I think this is a good combination. But if we want to go farther than this, we will look at the Navamsha. It is exalted. So Maharishi Parasara gave a lot of importance about three main things in the chart. One of them is the Rasi, the Navamsha, and Shashtiamsa. So here Venus in Navamsha is exalted. So his Jupiter is also strong. If you look at his 10th lord, it is in the 8th house, exalted in the 8th house. So basically, things are somehow balanced, but the thing that made him powerful, I think it's the Lagna Lord, the strength in the Rasi and the Navamsha.
Yeah, I would agree. Bill Gates has, obviously he's made a lot of money, but he's not really a recluse. He's not really a humble man, at least from what I've seen of him. And that shows, it doesn't mean he's a bastard, excuse my language. But he certainly doesn't lack for you. He doesn't possess a lot of humility. So and that presence, that kind of personality is also what allows some people to become more than rich. That will allow him to become extremely influential and also popular.
Dr. Gary, I think what you mentioned here about Bill Gates, we can clearly see it by the presence of Gulika in the ascendant. There is no really benefic aspect from the Lagna Lord or a benefic planet on the ascendant, on the Lagna. There's really no benefic aspect on it. And if we look at the sun, debilitated, I know it is with an exalted planet, but Saturn is an enemy and he acts bad in my experience. There could be a cancellation of the debility, but it may not save him from his character. And we will see that Mercury has Mars with it.
Well,
so his thoughts, Mercury is maybe represent the thoughts, the communication and everything. Yeah. It gives him strength in empowering the communication skills, but it is at the same time, like you said, it's making him maybe somehow arrogant.
Well, I think if you look at it, Gates is one of those people who doesn't seem to generate neutral feelings. So some people love him. They think he's doing wonderful work. Other people absolutely hate him, and they think he's out to ruin the world. He had, and also just from experience with people I've had as clients who've had strong Saturns in the 7th house, they'll get sued a lot. Okay, it seems to be so business partners, they'll have really powerful business partners, but the business partners will view him as an enemy, let's say. And he was involved in numerous lawsuits. He was being sued by the United States government for antitrust violations between the Clinton and Bush administrations, and they were dropped during the Bush administration. I think so. But he has a large philanthropic reputation, which is connected with Saturn in the 7th house. It indicates helping out people, indicates attention on the poor and the downtrodden, but it also indicates a strong desire for control. It's in a karma house. The 7th house is a karma house. If people have strong planets in the 7th house, they're going to want to control relationships. So yeah, so that would be my judgment of it.
I think, especially in the case of Bill Gates, recently, especially after the pandemic, his indulgence or his interference in the vaccines or in this things maybe gave it a bit more spooky appearance about him.
Yeah, and there are also allegations that he enriched himself even more so by investing in the pandemic medicines. So it didn't seem entirely. I'm just trying to think of a way to put it, which is more neutral than that coming out on one side. The interest didn't seem entirely humanitarian. You know, there was also an element of self-interest connected with it. So, but again, it's tough to judge because I'm not in his shoes, but just from what I've seen, Bill Gates tends to do things that help Bill Gates. You know, that's what he did. They help other people too, but he is a businessman. He is out to protect his considerable fortune, and he is out to help people. That's one way that philanthropic organizations function. They get to shelter a lot of their money while giving out certain small portions of it. You know, so so he's a complicated character. Also, I know a lot of people in the computer business, or a lot of people I knew in the computer business, didn't like him because he essentially set up every computer was almost forced to adopt his, every PC was almost forced to adopt his operating system.
Yes.
So essentially, and that was also swiped largely from Apple's operating system. You know, the similarities are not coincidental. You know, now that doesn't mean he did a bad thing, but so he does great things. On the one hand, he does great things, but on the other hand, he has this really kind of like less than stellar business reputation. Now again, if you're going to make a lot of money, it's very rare to find a stellar business, stellar behavior. So even people like Warren Buffett, who were considered to be pretty honest people, and shown to have engaged in some shady dealings over the past few years. So I think that's sort of like part and parcel of what goes along with wealth acquisition. So go ahead, John. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Okay, Dr. Gary, I think this is in this chart, we will more understand the intensity of the power the divisional charts give to a certain house.
Yeah.
And I think the best example for this will be Queen Elizabeth. She ruled around 70 years, I think, more than 70 years. And we'll just try to look at her chart in this perspective. We'll see the Rasi, we will see the Navamsha and the Shashtiamsa. I will share my screen.
Okay, very good.
I hope I'm able to share it.
Yeah, it looks like it's sharing, my friend.
Okay. So in this chart, if you look at the Rasi, we will see Mars exalted in Capricorn in the Lagna, which gives her a strong personality. Kind of the characteristics of Mars are lighter, are more beneficial in this chart, because Mars is comfortable there, and it is giving it gives better results. It uses its energy in the right place. It doesn't mean the Queen doesn't have a strong personality. On the contrary, she has a strong personality. At some point, she may be accused in narcissism, but I don't think she is a bad person. This is my opinion.
Yep.
And the best way to look at it, I don't think she ever. I think her reign, the years she ruled, I think Great Britain was in a more peaceful, on a general look at the years of Great Britain, we will see it more peaceful. I know they went through some wars, but they were not very, very big ones.
Yeah.
So we have Jupiter and Venus together in the second house. This is a very important combination. We have Sun exalted. Okay. We have the Moon in own house. So in this chart, we have three very strong planets. The Sun, two exalted, one in own house. And if we go to the Shashti Amsa, we will see that Venus is in Libra, behaving good. Jupiter in own house Pisces. And if we look at Saturn, Saturn is retrograde. So it is true that it is in Aries in D60, but the retrograde phenomenon may give somehow opposite or maybe opposite result. It could be that retrograde Saturn in Aries may behave better. And if we look at this chart, I think the planets in Kendras, especially Mars and the Sun and the Moon, they are giving a lot of strength to this chart.
Yep. The one thing that struck me about the Mars in the three charts was how prominent it was. And I again, I think that has to do with the land ownership part of her chart, because Mars rules property. You know, so you look at the first house. I'm sorry, the Rashi chart it's in the Lagna, it's exalted. If you look in the Navamsha, it's in its own sign. Oh no, it isn't. It's in Virgo. It's in
It
Virgo.
is in Virgo in Navamsha.
It's in Virgo, but it's in the ninth. Well, I would use it in the ninth. Go on.
Sorry, I wanted to mention that Mars is in Scorpio in D60, which gives it more strength.
Yep, exactly. So I think that the land ownership aspects of this chart are really strong. You know, extraordinarily strong. You know, so that was the first thing that struck me about it. But you're right; she did give up large chunks of the British Empire during her reign. She did. India was separated from them before she took office, if I recall correctly. But
yes, she basically started ruling in 52, I think, 1952, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. So a lot of what they gave up was actually in process before she even assumed the monarchy. But I think, but again, she could have held on. She could have tried to maintain Britain's role as a colonial power. It did to a certain extent. Great Britain didn't entirely give up its empire, but it shrunk it down a great deal. So I think those attributes and that Mars in Capricorn actually. So I think the British royal family is considered the largest landowners in the world. So that's I think that's why that Mars was so prominently placed.
I want to apologize for the noises because I had to do this in this place. It may not be the best place.
They're not picking up at all, Jean. So don't worry about it.
It was a bit crowded. I'm sorry about it. I hope this explanation gives a start to a research from a bigger or deeper perspective.
All right. Now you mentioned at the beginning. I'm gonna keep you honest. You mentioned the Gati Lagna, the Hara Lagna, and the Hindu Lagna, I believe it was.
the Bhava Lagna, Hora
Well,
Lagna, and
yeah,
Ghati Lagna,
yeah,
the
okay,
special ascendants.
yeah. Would you like to discuss those? You know,
Well, don't want to go very details about this, but those act like a different perspective to the life of the individual.
Yep.
So basically, when we have a very strong fourth house, it usually means that we have a very strong relationship with our mother. We learn very fast. We may do well in the real estate or cars or something like that. But but that doesn't mean that life is perfect. Maybe from a Ghati point of view, or Hora or Bhava point of view, we have a weaker fourth house. We have maybe a debilitated fourth house, or maybe we have a weak house from another perspective. That usually creates some difficulty in this area of life.
Yeah.
I'm just giving an example. It's like another perspective, because if we look at it, nobody has a perfect life. Nobody has a fully, perfectly good relationship with anything in life. But usually people have more luck in some specific areas in their life. And usually people have bad luck in some specific areas in their life. So sometimes good appears in very big energies, and the opposite is true.
yeah. No, I think that's true. These are like certain emphasis things. Like Gati Lagna, I think, is connected with fame or career, if I recall correctly. Hora Lagna is more connected with the potential for wealth, and Bhava Lagna is more what the personality of the individual looks like. If I recall, you know, those are how I treat them. But I think they can be looked at, and Bhava Lagna can also be connected with your home too. So I think those things are worthy of further investigation, because you can see how from the birth chart what the person's emphasis in life is. For instance, if I look at my chart, my Gati Lagna, that's right next to Jupiter. You know, so that doesn't mean I'm really smart. It actually kind of emphasizes my third and sixth houses. So I had a lot of accidents when I was a kid. So when I was in my Jupiter Mahadasha. So I think so you get both good and bad attributes of them. You know,
Yes.
You know, so
this is what I'm meaning.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
but
I'm somewhat famous for my accidents. You know, so yeah, but
I just want to mention.
Go on.
Sorry, Dr. Gary. This is the last thing I want to mention, because I just remember that whenever I read in the Dasa chapters for the Maharshi Parasara book, he always mentions that if a planet is strong in Rasi, it's strong in Navamsha, and is in a good house, the Dasa will be good. Even malefic planets, even Saturn or Mars, if it is exalted, if it is in a going house, in Kendra, in trine, it acts good.
Yeah.
So I tried to find if Maharshi Parasara ever said that you must look at a divisional chart, a particular house in a divisional chart. I couldn't find any.
Yeah.
This is why I'm saying that Maharshi Parasara, he didn't really said anything about the house system in a Vargas. In everything he mentions it in a Rasi chart, in Navamsha. And he speaks about strength in Rasi.
Yep. And I agree. I mean, all the other charts emanate from the Rashi chart. Okay, so it's better for fine tuning the chart to look at the Navamsha and the Shastiyamsha chart. it's better for fine tuning to see the planetary placements. And I think but I would never flip that and make that particular chart more important than the Rashi chart in evaluating a horoscope. So I would never look at, let's say, the Shatra Thompson chart and say, well, this is what your education or your family is going to be like. So essentially the priority obviously belongs to the Rashi, second priority in the Vamsa, third priority Shasta Hamsha. And then the other charts are like what I would call colorations of the main chart. They're not, they fill in, so you get, maybe you can think about it as being like line art and inking, and then you put the coloration in from the harmonic charts. That's one way of looking at it, perhaps. But this was fascinating.
Yes, thank you. Could I mention only two more things? One is
Sure.
from Faladipika.
Sure.
And one from,
The board is yours. You can stay on as long as you like. The floor is yours.
Basically, I think this is it. I hope so. In Faladipika, it is mentioned that in one place that we must see the strength of Navamsha Lord, the Lagna of the Navamsha, the strength of it. But there is no mention of the house system in it. Only the strength of the Navamsha Lord in Rasi or Navamsha.
Yeah.
And in the Brihat Parasara Horasara, in the end chapters, they mention that about the Karaka Amsa and planets from the Karaka Amsa, with it or from it.
Yeah.
But basically, this is it. He mentions it as a sign system, not as a house system.
Yeah.
So he says that if Rahu or if Ketu is second from Karaka Amsa, this thing may happen.
Yes,
But
exactly.
basically, this is not a house system. It is more like a sign system. This actually adds more to the sign system of calculations in the Vargas.
Yep. Yep.
It encourages this method of judging.
Yep. I agree with you, and I've seen that as well. Especially in terms of things like spirituality or liberation. The placement of the Atmakaraka planet in the Navamsha chart is considered extraordinarily important. And I think that sometimes when we look at these things, we can, I'm not saying we can overinterpret, but we can read things in that may not be entirely truthful. VP Gold has written an exhaustive book on interpretation of the harmonic charts, of the Varga charts. I haven't made my way all the way through it, but he assigns deities to them and all this other stuff. And I have no reason to disbelieve them, but they're not contained. You're right. They're not. The information he has is not contained in Parashara, at least in the Parashara translations we have available to us.
Yes.
Yes. So that doesn't mean VP Gold's a bad astrologer. It just means he's taking some interpretational twists that aren't in Parashara. So.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of that done. It doesn't mean they're bad astrologers or they're wrong. It just means that you're trying to stick according to the more literal interpretation, the more maybe the original intent of the book. Which I admire a great deal.
Okay.
Okay, my friend.
I agree. Thank you very much. Hopefully this was fruitful and good for everyone who likes those kinds of researches. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your generous time, and this was great to me.
It was great to me as well. And by the way, for people who love VP Gold, I have nothing against VP Gold. I think he's a great astrologer. I was just I was just comparing and contrasting. That's all. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that people understood that. All right, very good, John. Always a pleasure. And we'll be seeing each other probably next in July, early July for the CS Patel.
Purnima.
Yeah. So
Yes.
so I'm really excited about that from Saparishi Astrology.
Me too. It was a very generous invitation from Mr. Sunil John, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm trying to prepare something. I hope it people will like it, and I will sure talk about it with you, and we will do something about it.
All right, and why don't you give people your contact information if they want to get in touch with you, John? You know how to get in touch with you for a reading or for lessons or anything like that.
Oh, okay. Basically, I really don't teach because it's not like my thing. I can answer questions, but it's not my thing to teach. But if someone asks me something, I will.
Right.
I will tell him. I will try to answer his question.
But you do. But I'm sure you do readings. You do readings for people.
If they want to contact me, yes, I do.
Okay. All right. So this is a chance to get your contact information.
Okay. Basically they can contact me on Facebook Messenger, Jean Kirazian. I will put it in the descriptions. I will give it to you and put it in the description so people can follow my YouTube and Facebook page. And for the Arabic word, most of my YouTube videos, I'm doing it in Arabic, but when I do I'm also doing English versions with you and the Saptarishi team. So basically we will have English and Arabic videos on my YouTube channel.
All right, excellent. And don't forget to subscribe to John's channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. We're both here for you. I have contact information on earlier videos that you can look up. I won't repeat it here. But it's always been it's always a great pleasure to talk to John because he's very thoughtful and he's very intelligent, and I respect that. He's very careful.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, my friend. You take care of yourself, okay? And enjoy the rest of your
you too.
your vacation, okay?
Thank you, and I apologize for the crowd, the voices and the noises.
There's no need for apologies. Believe me, I've been in worse environments myself. This is actually it's a nice background. It's nice to it feels like I'm in somebody's living room looking at your image. So that's great. Okay.
Well, I wanted to show you the place. It's really very nice place, and I really encourage people to come to Lebanon. There is really a lot of historical places. There are really very nice places in Lebanon, and I made you an offer. If you come to Lebanon, I will take you a tour. I will make a tour with you, and I will take you to very important places in Lebanon. So
I must have some kind of a link with Lebanon because I grew up with so many Lebanese friends. I have Fall River, where I come from, has a large Lebanese population. So they all settled there, or a lot of people from Lebanon settled there. So
I'm a student from Lebanon.
All right, my friend. You take care of yourself again. Always a pleasure. Namaste. Bye now.
Bye.
We're going to end.